Hello, chat. Salutations. Welcome to the show. I got some interesting articles to go through today, and a very peculiar observation about the culture. We're going fully puritanical now. And no, this has nothing to do with the gate of the Gunner. It's actually to do with the mainstream media at this time. They are complaining that the lady Trump chose to be the White House representative is poorly dressed. They're basically crying of degeneracy of the White House spokesperson. And I was like, well, what the fuck? I mean, let's see about the Biden administration. We got transgender tits in front of the White House, right? Like, what can be more degenerate than that? And so the Daily Mail wrote an article, and to be fair, like, they're not calling her degenerate. It's just that this is them reporting on other people. And I was like, well, how the fuck did she dress then? Was she like a Twitch streamer in a bathtub? Like, what did she do? And then I saw the pictures. And this is it, chat, right? Like, this is her being dressed inappropriately. Controversial White House correspondent is being slammed for the outfit she wore on the first day of her new job. And I'm looking at this and it's like, are these people retarded? Like, are they terminally online? Do they not go out? Do they not see women? Are they only surrounded by women plus? Like the California type of Democrat women, like the Ministry of Energy. Like, is that like the type of women they experience? That when they see a real woman, they're like, oh my god, too much femininity, we need to tone it down. Like seriously, I'm starting to think that these individuals, they don't really care about degeneracy or whatever. These individuals, they just like to shame other people, right? Like they're just looking for a reason to try and humiliate other people. So they will start calling people Nazis, they will start calling people bigoted, they will start calling people racist, sexist, whatever. And when that doesn't sting, they move to something else. So now they're attacking just normal, heteronormative men. And they're also slut-shaming women. Like, yes, the left has done, like, the horseshoe theory was real all along. Like, they're now back at slut-shaming women who dress, by the way, extremely appropriately. Like, there's absolutely nothing inappropriate in this attire. If I had a daughter and she went like this to work, I wouldn't care. She's not showing cleavage. Her back isn't exposed. Okay, she's wearing a low dress and that's it. She's not wearing even high heels. There's not a ton of makeup on her that stands out, right? Like, she's not wearing, like, those bright red pucker lips. The fuck are these people smoking, man? Like, I honestly think they're trying to gaslight people. Like, they're trying to gaslight heteronormative men for just being themselves. And like, looking at pretty women. It's like, no, that's not normal. You're not supposed to do that. If you're a man and you look at a woman, you're like, good day. Like, shut the fuck up, bitch. Maybe you're gay. Nothing wrong with being gay, but it's kind of weird to set the morality for the other 98% of the population. She's more dressed and has less makeup than Melanie Mac. I guess. I mean, she does have makeup, but like she's using it in an appropriate manner. Like she actually does seem to have the art of placing makeup down. Which is, by the way, like, something that is an art form. Like, putting on makeup is something that some women generally don't know how to do, and others do it better. And so, it's probably not even placed by her. She may actually have a makeup team, right? Like, if she's the PR spokesman for the White House. But, like, that's neither here nor there. Like, nothing that she does is, degenerate. It's like, what the fuck? And so, that was interesting. And there's another news, but I may actually wait until more people join the chat in order to talk about it. In the meanwhile, we can talk about this abomination. At first, I thought it's an American, but then I realized, oh, it's a sumo wrestler. Alright, so it's not an American. It kind of looks like an American, but it's not. So yeah, like, Assassin's Creed is now casting a sumo wrestler. And I'm willing to bet, like, the same conversation, oh, well, it's not historically accurate, and they will find, like, one example where it is. Like, dude, we can see what you're doing. Like, this is just blatantly obvious. Like, what you're doing isn't like you're looking at Japan and you're trying to find out like stuff from Japanese culture in order to put in a video game and basically like try to recreate that historical time period. Obviously, like not in the sense of like making a historically accurate game, but at least, you know, get people to have the vibe as if they're traveling through ancient Japan, right? Like they see the architecture, they see like how people behave back then, they get to study upon some historical characters. That's what Assassin's Creed was about. But you're not doing that. Instead, what you're doing, you got an agenda. You got a thing to push, right? Like strong women, African Americans, and you're going down the checklist, like gay people, LGBT representation, and you're then like, okay, how can we shove this in? Like get your historical team to find out any example where these things existed, even if it's like so small, so minuscule, like so barely relevant. Like find these examples so that we can push them in, and we can, you know, like you're basically having the message and you're coating it in the aesthetic of the Assassin's Creed. And so people are mocking this, they're ridiculing this. Apparently one of the Japanese YouTubers that is covering this had his channel getting a community guideline strike for hate speech. Apparently, you're not supposed to have hate speech against fictional characters, and apparently YouTube disagrees with that. They reviewed the comment and were like, hold on a little bit. No, you can actually have hate speech against fictional characters. Like we're not retarded. We know that there's a difference between fact and fiction. And so they reinstated the guy's channel, but what they did is like now the entire Japanese online community is absolutely livid at Ubisoft. Which it already was, and now it's even more. And so, yeah, I mean, they're going to have a really, really bad release. I think that, like, this is my take on it. I think this may be the most colossal failure of all the Ubisoft titles up until now. Make it lamer and uglier. And like, okay, here's another thing about sumo wrestling. See, I'm not Ubisoft. I don't have a team of historians, but I know a little bit of the lore. Sumo wrestlers weren't always fat. Sumo wrestlers in the beginning were actually very athletic looking. Right? Like the whole purpose of the game is to push the other man out of the ring. And so in the beginning, like most sumo wrestlers were just like average guys. Some of them like looked kind of like Olympians, like people that participate in the Olympics, right? And then what they realized is that the heavier you are, the more likely it is to not get pushed out of the ring. And so over the decades, the sport actually evolved, and people started gaining more weight, and they started using various diets and exercises to the point where you have the sumo from today. And sumo today is actually really interesting because you have like these massive men, which aren't just fat. Like they're not really muscular either, but like they have a specific diet which kind of balances the muscle with the fat. Because again, like the whole purpose isn't just to become the movable object. Like you also have to push the other guy out of the ring. And so like through their training and their diet, they become like these individuals that are capable of accomplishing great feats. And they're literally like built for the sport. Like they are built so that people can't push them around and they can push other people around. And so, like, if you're talking about sumo from the ancient time when maybe women could compete, like, I don't know if that's the case. I'm pretty sure they may find an example. Then the women would not be fat. They would actually be just very lean. Very, very strong looking, right? Because that's how sumo actually started. Most sumo wrestlers today eat a single meal a day to lower their metabolism. I don't know about that. But yeah, no, like the thing why you can't have female sumo players is because of they consider the ring to be sacred, and they have like an entire tradition with throwing salt on the ring. I don't really know like the Japanese mythos and lore, but basically like they consider that no, like women are not allowed to step in the ring. I do think they've made some exceptions recently where women are allowed in exhibition matches, but like not in the official ring. They used to play American football in leather hats. Hello, Jagnan Drago. CH. Jagnan Drago Chan, is this how it's pronounced? Throwing the salt is to banish the demons. I don't know. Like again, I know a lot of Christian superstitions, right? Especially when you go to Mexico, like you got like a lot of Catholic superstitions. In Romania, like there's a lot of Orthodox superstitions. So I kind of know like Christian superstitions. You know, don't walk under the ladder. Black cat walks in front of you. That's bad luck. That type of stuff. But my fucking god, like the Asian superstitions are quite baffling, and some of them can even get you in a lot of trouble if you don't know. So here's an example. Imagine you're going to a village in Asia, and you knock over a stone or some shit, and you anger the village spirit, and now the entire villagers, they have to fast, and they have to do all this ritual, and they will beat the living shit out of you because you're interrupting their normal routine, right? Like seriously, think about this, right? Like you do something, and now the entire village has to go on a fast, and they have to like perform all these rituals. They have to drop everything they do. They have to stop their normal day-to-day life and then partake into these rituals just so that they can appease the spirit that you pissed off. They're not going to be very happy with you. And so like yeah, like these types of things, I like if you go in Japan, for instance, and you're eating rice, but you're like sticking the two rice sticks like upside, like perpendicular into the rice bowl. That's something they do at funerals. That's something that pisses them off. Like again, like a lot of these superstitions, I genuinely like do not know what they mean, but people take them very seriously in some places. It depends where you're going, obviously, because in the city, they're not taking them as seriously as it is in a rural area. But if you go to, like, a rural area where people are, like, genuinely superstitious and you do some of these things, you'll piss them the fuck off. Like when influencers flash at the temple in Bali, I don't know that, but I don't think it's a good idea to do it. To be professionally fat a long time ago would have cost a lot of money and would be something to do with the personal's career, whether fighting, cook, butcher, etc. Well, yeah, like sumo wrestlers were not just revered and people would celebrate them, but at the same time, if you were a sumo wrestler, you needed to have like a sponsor, right? So like another sumo wrestler had to take you in. The thing is, like, they were extremely well played, extremely well paid. And so, it was just a prestige and an honor to be a sumo wrestler. But if you're looking at it from the lens today, where almost everyone is fat, then, yeah, it's not as impressive. It's like, okay, well, like, at the time, you know, when people were thin, you could actually make the argument that, well, like, this is so unusual. Like, look how large this person is, right? Chopsticks, man. Chopsticks, not rice sticks, yeah. If you do the chopsticks thing, you just get some dirty looks at most. Yeah, it was just one example that I knew. Like there's obviously other things that if you do, you literally piss people off. I think, like, the Tory gates. Like, if you disrespect the Tory gates and you do stuff like that, it angers the spirits and shit. There was actually a guy arrested, like a tourist arrested. He scratched something on a Tory gate. I think he scratched his name, and he immediately got deported. So again, like, some superstitions are more respected than others. Right, let's talk about the condom thing. Controversial White House, we talked about this. Apparently, like, the media is saying that's not true, while other people are saying that it is. So, President Trump doubles down on bizarre claim that Biden sent $50 billion of condoms to Gaza, right? And that Hamas used them for bombs. And you have, like, these pictures, which allegedly, like, they're being used for bombs. Here's the thing. Assuming that the claim is true, I, as a cynical European person, would think that this is a grift. How is it a grift, though? See, like, a lot of Americans live in Eastern Europe, and they don't fucking know it. Like, the way it's a grift is that you, as the government, right? Like, you can't just pocket the taxpayer money. Because that's corruption. That doesn't look good, right? Like, if you're in charge of the taxpayer funds, and you just put them in your pocket, well, all of a sudden, you manage to piss off a lot of people, right? And you can go to prison. But you really want that money. You really want to put it in your pocket. So how do you do it? Well, you send like in this situation, let's say you send $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza, right? And you put them inside a bill that looks like pork, like you're trying to hide it, basically. So let's say it gets approved. How do you send the condoms to Gaza? Well, you hire an NGO, right? Like you task an NGO to do it, because you're not going to do it personally. And you give the NGO $50 million. Okay. Well, the NGO can literally take 45 or 49 million and put them in their pockets. Like, literally, just theft. Like, and they can literally just steal it, right? And then they can go to Gaza, and they can actually distribute some condoms, and they can photograph themselves while doing it. And here's the question. Who's going to go to Gaza to count the condoms? It's a war zone, right? Who is going to... And even if you do go to Gaza to count the condoms, people can say they use them. Like, who's going to... Right? You can't audit that. It's unauditable. They did another thing where they were pushing for, like, education in Myanmar, I think. And again, like, Myanmar is a war zone. The schools are closed. But the money went there. And so, like, the NGOs, they pocket the money, right? They put them in the pocket. And I'm pretty sure they're sharing it with the politicians. Right? Like, the politician that gave money to the NGO then gets money from the NGO in return. And all of a sudden, you have the taxpayer money in your pocket. And people in the media are baffled. It's like, why are we sending $50 million of condoms to Gaza? You're not. Chances are, politicians are stealing the money. That's what's happening. Like, $50 million are stolen by the politicians and their lackeys. That's what's actually happening. And all of a sudden, you realize, oh, hold on a little bit. The Democrats aren't insane. They're just thieves. And by the way, this is something that was done since the Bush era. Like, the Bush are the first one that used religion in order to send condoms to people and shit. In order to protect them from HIV. Like, a lot of these things are grifts. Like, over-the-table grifts. People know that they're grifts. They don't talk about it, because if they talk about it, then it ruins their grifts. They most likely get the money back for a future political campaign. Well, let me give you an example, right? In Germany. Again, same thing. Like, you have the taxpayer money. You're a politician. You can't just pocket the money, because if you pocket the money, you go to prison. And you really want that cash. You think you earn that cash. I mean, you're a politician. You're a member of the Greens or something like it. Why shouldn't that cash be yours? And so you have migrants, right? And you have people complaining. It's like, look, the migrants, like, we can't house them. We need to house the migrants. So what do? Well, you ask some hotels. Right? You go to some hotels and you say, hey, wouldn't it be nice if the government pays you? Right? So, like, the government will book the entire hotel, and the hotel owner can even raise the price. He can say, well, $400 a night. Like, he can charge whatever the fuck he wants, because it's a government program, right? The government has almost unlimited funds from his point of view. It's like, okay, $400 a night. And they book the entire hotel, right? So, like, from the hotel owner, he's making a lot of money. He doesn't have to worry about, it's like, oh, it's the tourist season or not. Like, his entire hotel is booked. He's happy. So he's making money hands over fist. And then with the money that he made, oh, now he is sponsoring the politician that passed the initiative in order to allow his hotel to have refugees. And again, right, like, you're thinking, like, oh, they're destroying the nation. They're like, oh, refugee doesn't make sense. It makes sense for the politicians whose pockets are full. They are stealing the money. It's not rocket science. It's not like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. No, they're crooks. Do Muslims even use condoms? I don't know. I think everyone uses condoms. Like, just because you use condoms doesn't mean that people don't want to have kids. I mean, I use condoms. I use condoms and I'm married. Like, I'm not ready for a second kid. When I want a second kid, then I'll stop, right? Like, it's not something bewildering. Like, married couple use condoms too. They can take away Gaza's condoms, but they cannot take away my buyer's remorse. And this body isn't laundered. Well, thank you, Zanothim. I appreciate it. Working in accommodation, our management would 100% hate to have those kinds of guests. Well, it depends, right? It depends on the grift. Because some hotels, they think about the short-term gains. And like, for instance, if you're the manager of a hotel and you manage to like fully book it for like 3 years at 5 times the price, you don't care what happens afterwards, right? Like, either you use the money to make another hotel somewhere else, or you repair the one you have, or maybe you even shut down. You don't give a fuck. The thing is, though, the thing with the hotel does have a point, because I saw a restaurant that tried something charitable once, and it actually ended up being bankrupt. Too much charity. So the restaurant, there was like this explosion in my town. I think like a gas pipe exploded or something, and it completely destroyed an entire building. It was horrible. But the survivors were offered by a restaurant a free meal. So like, if you were from that building and you survived, the restaurant owners would offer you one free meal if you went there, right? In order to show charity. And they also wanted to appear on the news, like on TV. It's like, oh, look, this restaurant is doing charity. And so what happened is, like, a lot of these people were lower class, and the restaurant was upper class. So the people from the lower class, they would go to this posh place, and they would bring onion, they would bring garlic, like they would bring like their own meal for some fucking reason, right? Like what they would get from the restaurant, they would also like bring some salami, and just, they're like low class people, like that's what they do. And it completely freaked out the clientele of the restaurant. So like the lower class people, they wouldn't pay, right? Like they would just eat the free meal. And they would freak out other people. It's like, oh, it smells awful here. You know, the people, they're dressed poorly, right? It was a posh restaurant. So their actual customers, their normal clientele stopped coming. And it completely backfired on them. In UK, one of the hotel owners became a millionaire over government scheme of housing migrants. Well, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Like, again, as I mentioned, it's a grift, right? Like, when you're looking at these politicians, like, a lot of people think that the politicians are evil. They're trying to plan the fall of Western civilization. It's like, no, nothing so noble. They're just stealing money. That's it. They're stealing the taxpayer cash. Period. If they wanted to fix the problems, they would remove welfare and all of the woes would be fixed. Probably don't need to maintain the level of cleanliness either. Well, again, like, if you're getting government money in order to house migrants, like, yeah, you don't need to maintain level of cleanliness. Donate to V so he can have more little V's. Honestly, like, having a baby isn't that expensive. Like, I had so many people freak out, like, telling me it's like, oh, having a baby is very expensive. Maybe having a kid is expensive, but having a baby, dude, it's cheaper than a cat. I actually looked at the money that I spend every month versus the money that I spent when I had a cat, when I had the Bengal. So, like, with a baby, if he's breastfeeding, which mine is, I mean, you need to buy some clothes, but the clothes aren't that expensive. Unless you're a retard and you buy brand clothes for your baby, which I don't know why you would do that. But, like, the clothes aren't expensive. I mean, here in Romania, a full clothing would cost like $20 or so. And the diapers aren't that expensive either. They're not that expensive. So, like, why are people freaking out over this? Now, obviously, you know, when the baby grows and they become a child, right? Like, when they're going to school and stuff, like, maybe that's when they become more expensive. But as a baby, it's like, oh, babies are expensive. No, they're not. It's chest feeding, yeah. Yeah, okay, they grow out of their clothes quick and you buy new clothes, right? So, like, you spend $20 first month and then you spend, like, 20 more after 6 months. It's not that expensive. And if you have one or you have, like, a family member, you can take clothes from them. Like, there's no reason to throw away the clothes, right? Because, like, again, they're not going to go out clubbing to show their attire, right? Like, they're not going to go out and seal a business deal in order to try to impress the client that they're very wealthy and you should trust them to do business. You know, it's just, we do hand-me-downs for babies. Well, yeah, like that's what is happening in my family right now. Like, we got clothes and we're going to give them down to my wife's sister because she's having a baby too. And so I don't understand why. Like, when I had the cat, I had to buy two types of cat food, right? You gotta buy like cat biscuits, the dry food, and you gotta buy the wet food, the meat. And that was actually expensive, like to make sure that it has like canned meat every single day, and it has biscuits every, like, you have to buy a month. You gotta buy cat litter. Like that was actually a lot more expensive than having a baby. So yeah. It comes from the mentality of having to give your child the absolute best of everything. Yeah, but like, no, I agree with that. However, at the same time, like, it doesn't make sense. Why would you buy your kid like Gucci clothes? You know, like, the only reason you would want to wear expensive clothing nowadays, like, first of all, the quality isn't that good, right? Like, back in the day, you would buy a pair of clothes, like a pair of shoes, and they would last you for 2, maybe 3 years. I don't know what the fuck they made them out of, but like, they were indestructible. And so now the only reason you would buy expensive clothes is if you want to make a lady go moist, right? So you're going dating and you want a gold digger. Like, some people generally do like gold diggers. So if you want a gold digger, right, like you dress yourself in expensive clothes and you go clubbing and you attract her. Or if you want to be a businessman and you're trying to lock down a business with a client, right? Like, if you dress expensively, it shows that you're successful, like you have money to spend, right? That's the only two reasons that I can imagine. And it's also, you know, like when you go to a wedding or whatever. But other than that, like, no. So, like, a baby doesn't do any of these things. There's absolutely no reason why you would buy brand clothes for your baby. That's just fucking ridiculous. I have a neighbor that bought like a $2,000 baby carriage. And I'm like, what the fuck is that baby carriage doing? Is it sucking your dick? Like, why would you spend $2,000 on it? Holy shit. There's no justification. Like, you can buy a baby carriage that's cheap, right? But it's also resistant. Like, it's not going to get damaged easily. You can fold it and put it in a trunk. It has even a place where you can place your purse if you're the mother. It's like, why on earth would you spend more than that? There's absolutely no reason. Maybe my baby does need to score a client. I think like you know, when your kid goes to school, that may be different, right? Like, if he feels inferior because like other kids have money and he doesn't, then maybe, yeah, sure. Yeah, Walmart clothes for the kids, of course. Like, there's no reason while the child is a baby and sits at home all day to have expensive brand clothing. It's just mentally retarded. I mean, again, if you're like that type of person, you can't say, oh, I don't have money for a baby. No, you don't know how to be fiscally conservative. That's it. Trump administration orders federal employees to remove pronouns from their email signature list. Oh God, I'm going to get a lot of people crying. I heard that Pete Buttigieg removed his pronouns. Now I don't know if it's he, him, or she, her. This was also something interesting. Isn't this Sargon's priest, by the way? Chat, isn't this Sargon's priest? Calvin Robson, right? Is this Sargon? Like, Sargon, did you miss your baby face? Who's this? Calvin Robinson has been kicked out of the Anglican Catholic Church for jokingly copying Elon Musk's "My heart goes out to you" gesture. I absolutely love Elon Musk's Nazi salute. It was a Nazi salute. And I love that he did it, because basically he's in a position where he got the ADL to defend his Nazi salute in public. I mean, like honestly, when you have all the money in the world and you want to troll, you want to be a cheeky little shit, why the fuck not? Like, I'm going to do a Nazi salute and DL will suck it. What are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. I mean, the Trump administration, I'm rich, and if they pick on me, they look unhinged. One of Sargon's former employees went to Russia, got put on a UK terror list, and detained. Oh yeah, well, we're going to talk about Callum as well. I don't want to hear British people lecturing Romanian legislation again ever. After what happened to Callum, if you're a person from Britain, until you fix the shit in your country, you shouldn't criticize others. It looks pathetic. So a lot of British people were upset about what happened with Andrew Tate, right? Because he got detained without getting charged. Now, to be fair, there is some criticism to the Romanian legal system. They preemptively arrest people way too often, even when they don't pose a danger to society, right? Like, a person should be innocent until proven guilty, and you shouldn't arrest someone unless it's a rare opportunity. However, what happened with Callum is far worse than anything that you can talk about Romanian justice system. Like, we just don't have this equivalent. So apparently Callum travels to Russia and Afghanistan. You know, he's like the type of person that likes to travel. And he goes there and he films YouTube footage and does YouTube videos and whatever. Now, he goes to Russia and videos some of the stuff there. And when he returns to Britain, his passport gets flagged. And so they have like the people coming in, not the police, but like people in civilian clothing. So kind of like the secret police. And they take him into a little room. And in that little room, he finds out that he's going to get charged with the Terrorist Act. So the Terrorist Act is like really interesting. You don't have the right to remain silent. It's like, what the fuck is that Stasi shit? You don't have the right to remain silent. Just that, like, that doesn't exist in my country. Anyway, you don't have the right to remain silent. But more importantly, you don't have a right to a lawyer to be with you. Now, he can summon a lawyer, and the lawyer can talk to him outside, but he can't have the lawyer in the room with him. So you're telling me that a country where this level of fascism is happening gets to lecture moi, well, not moi, but my country gets to lecture Romanians about justice and law, and they're calling us a banana republic? Really? Really? And you have that shit happening in your country. And they asked him about things like, what are your opinions of the West? What are your opinions of Ukraine? And it's like, well, I have a channel, like my opinions are public. You can check it out. And so, the very idea, it's like, what are your opinions on Ukraine? Well, what? So, like, British people can have different opinions? Like, this is another thing that I notice with modern culture. Everyone needs to be 100% on the issue. It's like, what? So, okay, like, what if 70% of the people are pro-Ukraine? Like, isn't that good enough? Why does it need to be 100%? It's not just Ukraine. It's like any issue. Anything. Why does it need to be 100%? Why can't, like, 70% of the people be fine? Like, as long as the 30% aren't organizing, they're not funding anything, they're not creating NGOs, they're not running for office, like, why do you even fucking care? Like, do you want a free country or not? Because a free country, like, name me any subject where you get 100 people in the room and they all agree with it. Like, you're going to be very hard-pressed to find certain topics that are like that, right? But no, like, apparently you have to enforce it. And so, what ends up happening is that they decide to let him go. Apparently he's not a terrorist, but they seize his electronics. So, like, they can seize your electronics for 7 days. Which is funny until you figure out, well, hold on a little bit. If they seize my electronics, how do I call a Uber? How do I call anyone? What if you have, like, your train tickets on your phone? Well, tough shit, because now there's no pay phones in the world, right? No, like, seriously, think about that. Like, if you're without a phone and you need to call someone, there's no way you can do it. You don't have pay phones, you don't have anything. The only way you can do it is to buy another phone, I guess. I'm telling you, V, says SRC Baker, I really have to be worried about the next time my company sends me on business to the UK. Usually they just deport you. They like Lawrence Saad. I mean, obviously you can't trust that this will happen all the time. But there have been cases where people were actually charged with the terrorist act. Lauren Southern is one of them, and they just deported her, and I think like she has like a permanent ban to go back to Londonistan. The process is the punishment. Oh my god, someone is from Eastern Europe. You actually know the saying. Yeah, like the process is the punishment. It's not just like you don't have the right to remain silent. You also have to give them your passwords to your phone. So like if they charge you with this, you gotta give them your passwords. You can't say that you don't remember. Absolutely ridiculous. Lauren is a really old case. Yeah. And there were like a couple of many other people that also got thrown with the terrorist act. None of them were terrorists, by the way. Meta meltdown staff revolt after tampons removed from men's bathroom. I mean, that literally tells you everything you need to know about the people at Facebook that were fact-checking you, that were banning you, right? Just like their tampons were removed and now they're rioting. In protest, workers are smuggling in their own tampons. Well, that was never not allowed. You know, like that was never forbidden. I seriously, like, workers are now smuggling in their own tampons. It's like, nothing was stopping you from, like, it's not even smuggling. You can buy tampons and carry them to the workplace if you so desire. Like, I don't think any country on earth bans that. They're not contraband. And yeah, like, despite the fact that you're a man, you can buy them. Yeah, like, you can go to a supermarket and buy tampons. They can't stop you, by the way. No one can. And once you buy them, you can carry them to the workplace. They can't stop you. If you want to, you can. You can actually, like, carry the tampon past the gates into the workplace. Unless you're working on a biohazard lab or something like that, you know? Then like, yeah, they will tell you to leave your street belongings at the door. But you can probably carry them all the way to the locker room. No, actually, you know what? You can carry them even with a biohazard lab. You can put them in your anus. And you can carry them literally in any place on Earth. There is... The sky is the limit. There is absolutely nowhere on Earth where you cannot carry tampons. SRC Maker, this is why I have a burner laptop, not just a burner phone. Fine, here's the password to my burner. I'm actually curious if you do that, though. Like, they may find you to be suspicious because it's like you're going to the border and your laptop or your phone is completely new. And I'll be like, oh, what do you have to hide? Is Meta a mental asylum? Yes. No, unironically, yes. I mean, are you kidding? Did you not see, like, their terms of service, the moderators there, the way people there look like? The interesting thing is, I generally wonder, like, why do they get so pissed off about the men's room tampon? Like, why do you need tampons in the men's room anyway, right? I mean, if you're a man and you really need a tampon, you can just ask a woman. But it's performative, right? It's like a pledge of allegiance. That's what they're saying. Like, it's a symbol that this company is adherent to the ideology. And when they took out the tampons, the reason they're freaking out is because, like, the company isn't doing that anymore. It's kind of like if a company decided to put crucifixes on every wall in order to show that they're a Christian company, right? And then they have, like, the diversity officers, they're now Christian officers, right? They hire Melody Mack as the HR hag, and they get, like, all these people that are Christians in it, and the moment that you start removing the crosses from the wall, they would chimp out, not because, like, they don't have their own crosses, or they can't, you know, have their own crucifixes, or they're forbidden from praying. It's basically because you're turning your back to the ideology. That's it. Like, they spoil these people. The movie is apparently part of Zuckerberg's broader push to restore free expression. But outraged employees see it as an attack on inclusivity. Well, yeah, but like if free expression is crashing against inclusivity, then inclusivity has to get steamrolled. I'm sorry. Like I keep hearing this. Minorities this, minorities that, and it's like it's important not to be prejudiced towards minorities, and they need to have like protections. But when's the last time they talked about the majority? Like, can we focus on the majority? Because like in the last 10 years, I've never heard anyone ever like focus about the majority. Does the majority not matter? And then they wonder why they don't get the vote. Well, it's because you don't cater to the majority. SRC member, SRC Maker, thank you for the 5 memberships. With Gunnargate, instead of criticizing games, if they only promote the games they do fit their values, it would be better for everyone. They don't have games that fit their values. But like, let me put it this way, right? I don't think the problem is woke ideology. I don't think the problem is Christianity. I think the problem is Karenism. Do you know, like, the first coin that was made in America, the things that were typed on it was mind your own business. I think that is the antidote to the venom that the Karen spouses. Mind your own fucking business. Like, there needs to be a separation between public place and private place. People should be able to do whatever the fuck they want in private. And there should be like a different level of what you're allowed to do in public. Like the idea that you need to police people on what entertainment they watch, what they can spank to and what not, that's Karen level behavior. Like that is only something of someone that's like having this weird obsession with what other people are doing. And if that's the case, then well, I will have an obsession with what you're doing. And we're going to constantly go at each other and we're going to hurt each other until someone cracks. And I'm telling you, I got a lot of conviction. Speaking of, apparently study shows, research claims that people with testosterone are more likely to hold opinions that are true rather than opinions that are pleasing other people. Everything starts to make sense now. I've been saying since the pandemic that there are certain opinions that people hold knowingly that they're false. Like, I knew people that are holding false opinions. Like, you can't be a person that's like, we need to stay inside because we need to protect grandma from the cough. And then the next day you need to go out and protest for BLM but still keep the businesses closed. And then you're like, we need to save grandma, but let's go to war for Ukraine. Like, you can't be a person that holds all these opinions at the same time. And the response that I had at the time was that these people are afraid. Like, they watch the news in order to be told what to think, whether it's true or not. They know that that thing is appropriate to mention in public places amongst your friends. And if you don't mention those things and you mention something else, you get in trouble. So, like, they want to be on the right side of history, as they say. But like people with testosterone, no, they don't give a shit. It's like, I'm not going to say a falsehood. I'm not going to lie. No, I'm going to tell the fucking truth if you're asking me. How much the testosterone is the minimum threshold for that to be true? Dude, I don't know. Everything in private, too vague. But if you're playing a nude video game in your house, you're not destroying society. Like, let's cut up with this shit. Right? If you're playing a video game in your free time, or you're watching a scary movie, or a slasher film, or something like that in your house, it's literally no one's fucking business. So, like, if you're going to the level where you're policing video games, your ideology is Karenism. Like, no, seriously, like, do you care what your neighbor does in his house? Like, no, this is actually, see, this is really foreign for a Romanian, because I have a classmate from medicine, and she went to Germany. And apparently, like, someone placed a sticker on her door complaining over the fact that she had the Christmas lights in the balcony still. And they flew a drone to her window to show her the picture of the Christmas lights. And I'm like, what the? Like, that just doesn't compute in my country. Like, it's just... What? Like, here you can put Christmas lights whenever the fuck you want. I can put them right now if I want to. And if anyone complains, I will spit on them. Like, de facto, like, because it's none of their fucking business. I can put Halloween decorations if I want. And all they gotta do is to go fuck themselves if they don't like it. And it's the same thing with flags, you know, like in England. If you put an English flag in England, the landlord can kick you out. And again, like, that's something that the Romanian brain just doesn't understand. It's like, okay, he has an English flag, and... What? Noni? You know, it's like these things, it's like, who cares? SRC Baker, thank you for the $20. I swear to you, yesterday, an older chick driving an Infiniti Nissan was wearing a mask alone in her car and ran the red light. And I almost T-boned her. Stay home, stay safe, but run red lights. I'll put the damn dash cam. There are many reasons why a lady can wear a mask. If I'm going to be charitable and play the devil's advocate, maybe she's actually sick, right? And if you're like, actually, the reason you wear a mask in your car is because you don't want to forget to put it back on, right? Like, if you're driving a lot and, you know, putting it on, putting it off, pulling it on, it's like something that is annoying to do. But usually it can also be because the lady has a scar on her face. Like, I actually know that situation. Like, someone that can have like a gash or something on their face. Like, they will wear a mask. Or ladies who don't want to use makeup. Like, that's a thing in Japan. If they're too lazy to use makeup and they're also low self-esteem, they will use a mask. V, you know that's not what I meant. If I got a Samsudin smoking near a shack full of fire, why do you have to go to that extreme? How many times do you see people smoking Samsudin next to fireworks? How often does that actually happen? Like, come on, let's stop going with the extremes. And if he does something like that, I wouldn't go to their door. I would call the police because, like, it would be a fire hazard. Nah, she's stupid, no mercy. Well, I mean, you should assume they're stupid until proven otherwise. I really hate the idea. It's like, oh, what if she, which is what I did right now. But I do see your point, right? Like, a lot of times we give leeway to members of society that assuming that, well, what if, but what if not? What if not? I smoke while pumping petrol. There's no fucking way. Do you actually smoke while pumping petrol? Dude, that's dangerous. What is wrong with you? It's like seriously, that's very irresponsible. Like, one small accident, and that's all it takes. And you can actually smoke while pumping petrol for like 5 years and nothing happens, and then it happens. You know, getting incinerated is not a good way to go. It's actually extremely painful. V, my neighbor smokes weed like 6 times a day, and now because the stench wafts over me, am I allowed to care? If the neighbor's stench from the weed comes to you, then, well, it's not in private, is it? Like, the stench is now a public thing. Like, he should actually smoke it. You know, we have this thing in Romania. I don't know how it's called, and a few Americans have it. But, you know, like, when you have your stove, on top of the stove, there's that thing that goes and just cleans out the smell. Hota, or whatever do you call it? Like, it absorbs the fumes, right? Well, if he wants to smoke weed in private, then fucking do it next to that. So no, like, that's a poor example where that they're smoking weed and it's in your house. No, if it's in your house, then it's not a private matter, because it's in your fucking house. They can smell outside. They can smoke in the car. They can smoke in other places. Well, maybe not in the car, right? Because unless the weed is 100% legal in your country, you may have issues with the police. Then if you smoke it in your car, they can say, "Oh, I smoke weed." So like they can be like, "You're not allowed to smoke and drive," right? And they will be like, "Oh, well, I need to check your car." And it's like if they check your car, it's a hassle, right? Because like you gotta wait for them to frisk your car. It can take like 30 minutes. It's not okay. We shouldn't be encouraging, but why shouldn't we encourage? Like unless it's your daughter, or unless it's your blood, or your kin, or your relative, you're encouraged. What should like see? This is the thing. If you don't want to be tolerant of others, you're becoming a problem for other people. And then there is no justification why other people shouldn't become a problem for you. And you won't like that. Right? Just don't be a problem for other people. Just chill the fuck down. If it's not your girlfriend, if it's not your wife, if it's not your mom or your daughter, just like let people mask up. Who the fuck cares? They can triple, quadruple mask. It's not my business. I got my own family to take care of. Is my family perfect? No. Well, I will focus on that. Doy. It's not legal, but police don't care unless driving. Yeah, but like if you're driving and the police ask for license and registration and they smell the weed, what conclusions will they take? And it's also the exaggeration, like we shouldn't encourage. Like, do you see people going to other individuals minding their own business and like, "Hey, have you considered masking up in your car? Do it. Do it. Mask up in your car. I encourage you." It's like, no one does that. But no, like, seriously, like, people just don't have empathy anymore. They don't put themselves into other people's shoes. Like, let's say that you go to someone and you harass them because they're masking up. Okay. Are you not doing some activities that other people may consider them weird? Would you like a chucklehead from the blue to come up to you and start pressing? No. So, like, come on. Everyone does something weird. Maybe you're wearing socks and sandals or some shit. No, they scream at you not wearing a mask in your own closed window cars. Well, if they scream at you, don't you have a middle finger? Like, the opportunity to present it is right there and then. We can't become the how can we allow people. Yeah, like the Karens are really the problem in my opinion. There's too little of mind your own fucking business. Both the woke and the Puritans, this is what they have in common. And don't give me the shit that's like, "Oh, if only we can control every aspect of society and micromanage everything and treat adults like children, then the wokies wouldn't have come." No, the Bushes pretty much did that. Like, under the Bush administration, that was the thing. Like, hyper-religiousness. And you got the woke. So no, like, religion cannot stop the woke. In fact, speaking of religion and the woke, as I shown before, and I'm going to show it again, Sargon's priest, what's his name? This guy, right? He got kicked out of the Anglican Catholic Church. So he got kicked out of the church. Why? Because Karens, that's why. "Oh my goodness, he did the hand sign. Oh, how can we allow? Why are we allowing? We can't encourage people. Oh my goodness." There's not enough people to tell them to fuck off. And so the Karens pressured the church. The Karens nagged, then nagged, then nagged, and eventually the church went fine. And there you go. The power of the Karens. It needs to stop, Chad. It needs to stop. They need to be sent to the kitchen. Be sent to the kitchen. And they need to be reminded that they need to mind their own business. I noticed since Trump won, people are wearing masks more in cars. And just in general, I think them trying to wear a sign they are anti-Trump, is that a thing? Is there a new movement coming? I don't see it in Romania. Like, maybe it's something in New York. If it's something in New York, sure, I'm not going to argue against it. I mean, hey, you know, like, it's a form of protest, I guess. You know, it's a free country. If they're anti-Trumpers and they want to use a mask to protest, I mean, sure, why not? This side, ironically, would make Christianity more popular with the kids. Is that real? Yes, it's real. He made it funny. He tried to emulate Elon Musk. My heart goes out to you. And apparently, according to the article, got kicked off of the Anglican Church. Huh. There's another thing. I'm going to make a video about this tomorrow. But it really pisses me off. Like, really, really, really hard. So, there's this song on Chinese television. And I'm not gonna lie, like, the song is pretty good, right? It's from 2025, it's this year. I love the choreography, right? Like, it's a very relaxing song, and takes a lot of skill, I suppose, in order to do these things. It gets, like, more complex as things go on. It reminds me of ballet, pretty much, right? And then they're comparing it with Taiwan. And they're showing, like, this song from Taiwan. And you have, like, some ladies that are wearing cleavage and revealing clothing, and they're dancing. Oh, my goodness. The level of degeneracy. I see the collapse of their society. Their civilization is going to end up in ruins because they allow this to happen. People will soon forget how to read and write. What will happen is that everyone will shut in their houses and they will watch these succubuses dance, and their society will crumble just like the Roman Empire did. I was there when the Romans allowed this nonsense to foster, and it fostered and it rotted their brains, turned them into zombies, and people fought the zombies until the Catholic Church came in with horses, and they fought the evil degeneracy, and they brought the holiness, and all of a sudden Europe radiated with piety until the Muslims came, and the Muslims had more piety, and the Muslims was beating the church. They were invading Europe with their piety. But then the Christians, they summoned even more piety with the Crusades, and they're getting their asses kicked because the Muslims are even more fucking pious than the Christians. And it's like okay, look, like, are you for real now? Are you for fucking real? You're looking at some shit which is like 1,000 times more tame than MTV. Like, you can get a time machine, go back to when MTV had music, and pick any time, any hour, and watch a show, and tell me if it's not more degenerate, which, by the way, now stands for problematic. That's what degenerate means. If it wasn't more problematic than this. The reality is that these shows are catering for different audiences. This is something that I would watch with my wife, but I am a person that's at the age of 39. And so, like, this is something for people my age. This is something for people that are that have gone through puberty and their hormones are raging. This is something that I was watching when I was in high school. And there's nothing pornographic on it. They're not naked. In fact, I would say that in Eastern Europe, if you go on TV right now in Romania and you open the TV, the ladies are far less clothed than these ones. So I don't see the problem. Like, look, I get it, you know, that there's like levels of degeneracy, like that woman that had sex with 1,000 men. But let's not go into the opposite way. Let's not start acting like 85-year-old babushkas that constantly go like, oh, how can we allow the babushkas to complain so much? Seriously, like, I understand the new generation, the Zoomers, they age more rapidly. Like, there's TikTok videos about this. I think, like, there's a New York Times segment. And they actually show how Zoomers that are the age of 20, they look like 35 and 40. And I understand, you know, That like that's a thing because you see it physically, but do you also have to age mentally like that? Like they generally think that everything in society is bad, it's evil. They're always unhappy. They're always bitching and whining about what other people are doing. And the reality is that they're having like a lot wealthier lives than my parents did. They're having access to more amenities, more electronics, more gadgets than my parents did. And they bitch and complain and they're such downers and like killjoys. It's like, oh my goodness, there's women dancing. And there was like a person saying, V, your take is bad. If you want middle-aged women to dance for teenagers, that's a problem. And I'm like, okay, first of all, when I looked at these women, like I just saw women dancing, right? Like it's a pop musical. It's like what? Like, so, okay, if you see Shakira, how old is Shakira, right? If she does a performance for teenagers, is that inherently immoral? Like Shakira can't dance now? But okay, fine, you know, let's say that this is the issue, right? Like your problem is that the ladies are too old and maybe their audience is filled with teenagers. All right. And if the ladies were young, right? Like if they were like a K-pop troupe of idols, and some of them are 17, others 18, because I think 16 is the age of consent in Korea. I would have to check. But let's say they're all 18, right? Then you would complain, oh, why are teenage girls dancing for older men? Like, the problem isn't the age. And I don't even think you care about the way they dress or anything. The problem that you're having is that you feel the need to shame other people. You need to shame other people, just like people would shame others for being racist, for being sexist, for being misogynist. Now it's like, oh, you're shaming them for being gooners. And you're just looking at everything. You're grasping at straws to find anything that can offend you and to shame like a heteronormative man for doing what heteronormative men do, which is to have the male gaze. Oh my goodness, some ladies dancing. Oh, like Chinese mainland versus Chinese Taiwan. Oh, goodness gracious. The Taiwanese ones give seedy red light district vibes. Fuck are you talking about? They're not stripping. China is winning, Taiwan is losing. But, like, seriously, these people, I don't want them as my neighbors, chat. Jacob, thank you for the super chat. Off topic, the Chinese could do a funny and launch an anime Mass Effect before BioWare launches Mass Effect 5. Oh my fucking god, don't remind me that BioWare is going to ruin Mass Effect 5 now. What are people really comparing a classical dance recital in China to a Taiwanese version of an Ariana Grande concert? That's not really fair. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, you live in a capitalist society where there's plenty of, like, classical dance recitals to pick from. Like, if you want to, there's entire channels dedicated to that, right? You can go on YouTube and you can watch classical dance recitals. And then, like, there's other people that want to watch Ariana Grande. And usually what happens is when you're young, you watch the Ariana Grande. When you grow up, you watch the classical dance recitals. Like, come on. Like, are we going to pretend we don't understand human nature just to get offended now? 21 is the age of consent in South Korea? Get the fuck out. It's 16. It's 16. What is the legal age of consent in South Korea? Legal age of consent in South Korea is 16. This means that people aged 16 or older are considered to be legally capable of giving consent. Dude, if 21 was the age of consent, it would have meant that you can't serve in the military. It would have meant that you can't start a business. It would have meant that you can't get employed or vote. Right? Like, you can't gaslight me with this shit. 16 is usually the age of consent around the world, even in America. Like, in most states of America, 16 is the age of consent. In my country, it is too. And we also have Romeo and Juliet laws. So, like, if a 17-year-old has a 15-year-old girlfriend, we don't lock them up. Aren't you ashamed to be simping with China so much? I literally just simp for Taiwan now. Or are you saying that Taiwan is part of China? Aren't you ashamed to suggest that Taiwan is part of China? They're not stripping at the ballet just yet. Anyway, no, the thing is, like, I legitimately, like, asked. See, the thing that actually got me on the whole China train is that I was playing Path of Exile 2, because I really like Path of Exile 1. So I'm playing Path of Exile 2, and someone tells me, oh, you shouldn't play it. It's like, why? Because it's from China. And my Romanian brain kicks in. Like, if someone tells me I shouldn't do something, that's when I do it. And then I start wondering, like, hold on a little bit. Why exactly do I need to hate China? Like, what has China ever done to me, personally? Like, what have they... I know they're doing bad stuff to their people, but I don't live there. And so, like, the question again arises, like, what has China done to me personally? It's like nothing. They sold me cheap shirts. Okay, they sold me cheap shirts and cheap furniture. And now they're making video games that I like. And so why do I need to hate them? It's like, well, yeah, but see, they're putting DEI in Western video games. And it's like, okay, so what are the Americans doing about it? Like, what are the American politicians cracking down on that shit? What are the people in politics that are supposed to guard against foreign interference that are fucking with America's soft power? What are they? Oh, there are? Okay, I see. I'll play Path of Exile too. Look at the main audience of Taylor Swift and her lyrics and how she dresses around them. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I grew up with that shit. Like, MTV, dude, it's not even Taylor Grande. Like, Justin Bieber, right? Like, he was, what, like 15 when he started, and he was baby oohing? And then you also had hip-hop music, right? You got wet-ass pussy and shit. Like, come on, are we going to pearl clutch? How long are we going to canonize over these issues? I just like Asian chicks? No, I don't. I like my wife. I do dislike moral busybodying, though. It's like, I'm starting to really dislike Kerianism as an ideology. It's they started the Kuf lockdown. Yeah, but they started the lockdown in their country. They didn't lock me down. I punished the people that locked me down these elections. A lot of Romanians just flattened the curve of the government that kept us locked down. So, like, I deal with the problem where it is. I don't care what China does. I don't live there. But I do care what my government does because I live here. And so if they're going to lock me down, then I'm going to vote for the clown pill. And I sent the clown car in the parliament this election. I'm really happy with it. And I sent the clown car at the European Union. I got 2 clown cars these elections. Insanely happy with the way the elections turned out. I'm not even kidding. China purposefully spread the infected citizens to other countries, V. I think it would have been spread anyway. Like, there's no way you can contain something like this. If it's airborne and it's like a 2 weeks incubation period, there's absolutely nothing you can do to prevent it. Taiwan is technically the ruling seat of China, and they have a ceasefire in their civil war. They talk of reparations plus land, but support the situation. They used to have, like, the communist revolution, as far as I remember. And the government, the official government of China, they went into exile and managed to get into Taiwan. And they managed to hold off until the Americans came, and they told Mao that they're going to nuke him if he doesn't leave Taiwan alone. And so that's the situation. Like, basically, China should be Taiwan, not the other way around. You're buying your own demise for a cheap shirt. See, like, this is what pisses me off. Like, the European Union does business with China. Like, 30% of the manufacturing in the European Union comes from China. Elon Musk does business with China. Facebook does business with China. Apple does business with China. But for some reason, I'm not allowed, right? So, like, if I want to do business with China in a moral way, I need to either become a politician or I need to become a CEO of some major American company, and then I am allowed to do business with China. But as a private citizen, I'm not allowed. Now, if I go in a mall in my country, 9 out of 10 shirts are from China. Because, again, the European Union manufactures shit. Like, we don't have manufacturing. Everything is from China. So, like, if I want to buy furniture, I buy it from China. The phone that I have has rare earth minerals, probably from China. But if I play a video game from China, then I'm buying my demise. Come on. Yeah. Please, por favor. I'm not telling you to buy stuff from China. Don't buy it. You know, buy your American ESG stuff. Watch your Netflix. I'm actually going to play Wukong. I'm a consumer. Sell me a product. Stop being fucking lazy. Sell me a product. Give me something that's good. Surely you can do it, because you've done it up until now. Like 20 years ago, nothing interesting came from China. The movies were shit. The cartoons were shit. The video games were shit. Do you guys remember when America was dominating with World of Warcraft? And the only thing Chinese were doing was knockoffs of the game, and they were farming gold 24/7? Right? Can we bring that back? Okay, you're making me pay for you to read this. I had yellow fever, but then I married an Asian and I got bored. I've been cured. I actually don't think I ever met a Chinese woman in real life. Because I'm in Romania. I did meet a Japanese woman. She was very nice. At the University of Medicine. Very nice and very weird. Weird in the sense that I saw her. And when I saw her, her name was Suzuki. And she looked like a 14-year-old. And I was like, holy shit, is this like a Japanese wonder child? Like, you know, like one of those kids you hear about the stories that they're like 14 and they go to university because they're really that smart. And so I go talk to her and I found out that she's 36. She was older than me at the time. And she already graduated the University of Chemistry. And now she came into Romania to study medicine. And I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, like, you look 13. Like, do you not age? Holy shit. I use 2 Xiaomi phones. Well, that's the thing. I don't tell people to, like, buy Chinese stuff. Like, obviously, buy whatever you want. But I dislike the idea that I'm told to hate a country that I never even visited. And it's half the world away. It's like, what? The nasal voice is the bomb. I grew up with Asians. My first girlfriend was Asian. Asian girls hit the walls at 50. It is. Anyway, right, my baby is crying, so I should go and see what's up. Thank you guys for watching the stream. I appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.